Sometimes your body might betray you, and you may have so much to lose. But if you pay attention and you just take some action, you realize it's all in your mind. It's in your mind, so mind your health. It's in your mind, so mind your health. Your physical is essential, but your mind is super special. So mind your health.
Welcome to Mind Your Health, where there is no health without emotional health. My name is Leslie Ann Lyons, and I am your host for this evening. I'm so delighted to have you with us. We are going to be tackling a very interesting topic. I am so sure that you want to be in tune for every single minute of this program. Before we go any further, though, I'm just going to go ahead and invite the Holy Spirit's presence. I'm going to read the scripture and then pray. The text that we're looking at this evening is 1 Peter 4, verse 8, and it says, "And above all things, have fervent charity among yourselves, for charity shall cover the multitude of sins." Let us pray. Dear God, we thank you for being with us here this evening. We thank you for all that you have done for us and all that you will continue to do for us. I pray that as we go throughout this program, that it will not just be a show, but that someone who is watching will be blessed by it. They will learn something and they'll have something to look forward to. Continue to be with us even now. In your name I pray. Amen. So we're tackling the topic, marriage. Marriage, that's what we're looking at. And this evening with me, I have some amazing guests, and I want them at this time to introduce themselves. I'm going to start to my extreme right. I'm not going to call their name because they're going to introduce themselves.
Okay, I am Darren Murphy.
I'm Adise Murphy.
I'm Theodore Henry. You want me to introduce? No.
And I am Alphonsina Wright Henry.
I am Jeffrey Marshall.
My name is Marsha J. Marshall.
Paula Holmes.
And I'm Earl Holmes.
And what, anybody wants to tell me, what do all of you have in common?
We're married.
I heard we're in love. Lovely. Love is lovely, isn't it? All right, so we're here to talk about marriage. And I want to start off the conversation by just asking one question to everybody. How did you meet? I don't want to get into too much yet. We're not getting too much into it yet, but just tell me, how did you meet? I'm going to start on this side this time. How did you meet?
Well, I met Paula on February 27, 1987, at 11 o'clock at the Kencott Church. It wasn't 11 o'clock. It was a little earlier because I was the Sabbath school teacher and she walked into my Sabbath school class. And I was there teaching and being all spiritual and everything. Then God sent this angel in my class and I had a problem. A good problem. That's how we met. Am I telling the truth, love?
Yeah, that's how we met. Perhaps I should add that somebody else who liked me actually took me to Sabbath school.
Wow. Yeah. All right.
That was so cool.
All right.
And then one more thing I got to tell you. She had on a blue dress, a white pair of shoes, and her hair was just this height, or a little bit lower. Yeah, shorter. Yeah.
All right. Wow, I'm interested to know more about that, but we'll get more into that in a few. Let's hear from the Marshalls. How did you guys meet?
Okay, we met at church. I had visited Trenchtown Seventh-day Adventist Church for a special day. And I was doing my usual cut and run after church was finished. So I came out long before anybody else would have left church. And when I came outside, he was already outside. That never happens. And that's how we met.
All right. Anything from Sir Marshall?
Yeah, that's how we met. That was in 2009, I believe. And we exchanged pins, back then BlackBerry was the rage.
Right.
I'm old. But we were just friends for that time. And actually, we knew each other even before that. We were children. She used to come to Trenchtown. And so we knew each other as children, so I was familiar. But in 2009, I was like, oh, I remember her, but I don't remember her like this. And we were friends, just friends. But then in 2013, she invited me to her grandmother's birthday party. A bit out of the blue for me, but I went because I wanted to, enjoy myself, spend some time, and get to talk to her a bit more. And it was just a friend thing at the time, And we went and we were sitting, talking,
All right.
enjoying.
Mind if I cut you?
Sure.
Sounds like you're getting into how it grew.
Well, okay.
Right? So we'll get there now. We'll get in there.
No
We'll get in there. So we'll come back to that. Let's hear from the Henrys. How did you meet?
Well, all right. So I'm not good at history, so I'll leave the dates to Alphan. I'll tell you though how it didn't meet. Alphan and I have been around each other for all our lives. Went to the same prep school, went to the same university. We had the same friends, and our paths never crossed. Through all that time, we did not meet, despite the fact that we were around each other all that time.
And then I came to Kingston. I'm from Portland. And went to his little bush church. Well, it's our church. It's my church now. It's Guava Gap SDA Church.
It is a highly vegetative.
No, but that was my concept of the church, actually. I wasn't enthused about this country church, right? But I went there. I fell in love with it. It's an awesome church. And then I started seeing this little... No, he was very little at that time. I started seeing this young man around. No, not much interest. He was just there. But then for some reason, I started seeing him.
Okay.
And then I started seeing him performing in church. I realized that he was pretty much involved. He seemed serious about what he was doing, what he believed. He was also a choir director. And then you see crazy side come out there, and I started seeing more of him. Yeah, man, jump up and down and all of that when he's directing. But then I think over time, seeing him being who he is, it started drawing me to him closer and closer. And then next thing you know, one thing turned into the next.
Into another. All right, all right. That one thing turned into another. We're going to hear more about that one thing turned into another. Well, let's hear from the Murphys. How did you guys meet?
Just want to say that I'm the pastor for the vegetation.
The highly vegetated church.
Mention of wonderful church. Yes, God be praised. We met a mutual friend. I was traveling from Mandeville at the time, 2012. Was driving behind, should I be more specific? I was in the car right behind the driver's seat, and I'd recently gone through a breakup. I was just relaxing, and friend driving said to me, "Haven't you seen anybody that you like?" And I said, "No, not really." Let me say, "Think about it, Darren." And I said, on second thought, there's a short young lady. I think she sings. I believe she goes to North Street. And at that time, she was singing in a group with two other friends. And he said to me, "Oh, don't say another word." And he went on the phone and he made a call. And I heard him say, "Adis, we're planning for drop by and have some work to complete. So I'm just coming." And she was like, "Sure." I said, "All right." So we went by the house, and Adis was sitting in her living room in a half-cut joggers,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
a gray polo shirt, that a Jamaica sign to the left, and I'm going to call names now. Rowena and Leon French were the two persons traveling with me, and they came in the living room. Before we knew it, French and Rowena disappeared.
Correct, that's correct.
And then that's how it started. That's how I met Adis. In her living room.
Wow. Wow. That's
in her joggers.
In her half-cut joggers. All right, so we've heard how you guys met. So, we want confirmation from Adis. Is that what we want?
Yeah, so the story went like that for the most part. The only thing I'd add to it is well, it was a Friday afternoon, January 26, 2012, approximately 2 in the afternoon, because I had choir practice at 6 at North Street. And I remember having some chores to do, and he was just chatting me out. I mean, I enjoyed it, but he offered to rake the yard with me, and I'm like, who is this guy? Like, seriously, like, who offers the, like, what kind of pickup line is that? Who offers to rake the yard? And he raked his way into my heart.
Oh, wow. That was so cheesy, Adis. All right. All right. So we've heard how you guys met. I don't know who's going to try to out-cheese that line, but we've heard how you guys met. Tell us a little bit more about the process. How did you get to know each other? What was that like? How has it been through your marriage? Just minor details, if you may. Anyone wants to start? We're going with the raking? All right, let's go.
We spent a lot of time together. At the time, I was working with East Jamaica Conference the first time. And Darren was a ministerial student, so he was pretty much on the last lap, finishing up school. I would go to Mandeville occasionally, to visit for programs on the weekends. He would come up and he would come to church with me. And our relationship progressed. I recognized one thing that we both had in common, one very, very important tool or tenet of having a happy marriage or relationship: communication. We talked all the time about anything. We spoke anywhere. It was just so comfortable for us. That's one. And two, we were able to pray about anything. And for me, that was extremely important. Not because he was necessarily a ministerial student, but because he was a Christian. I absolutely loved that about him. So our relationship grew. We talked all the time. I'm a talker. I'm definitely a talker. Yeah. And sometimes, even now in marriage, I'm talking and he's sleeping. Yeah.
Who hasn't been through that?
All right. Anything you wanted to add?
No, confirmation.
All right. Great.
Well, for us, I guess it's similar to Adis and Darian's story. We spent most of our time talking at church. I remember we used to always like playing baseball and stuff like that. And we would never out anybody, because if I am on the base that he's on or anything like that, we pretty much are engaged in a conversation for the entire game. Nothing around us. We know what's going on. And yeah, so I think that's one of the things that really drew us to each other. The conversation was just great. In the evenings, I would meet him at his workplace and we walk up to Halfway Tree together. That was a ritual every evening. He takes me to the bus stop. I get my taxi home. So this was something that we used to do quite often. And right there, we're able to learn a lot about each other. And yeah, and as Adi said, it was similar for me. I was able to see that this man wasn't just, hey, I'm just going to church because I'm supposed to. The more we interacted, the more we spoke, the more we prayed together, I realized that he was serious about his faith. And it did make a big difference in my choice.
Let me add some things to that story. So Alphan had this way of leading you to a point and then leaving you alone, make you worry about it. I remember one day I was at church and I was having a conversation after choir practice, and I'm talking to a friend and she comes up to me and she said, give me a hand. I'm like, So I gave her my hand and I continued the conversation. And she's writing something in my hand. No, we weren't getting into anything yet. She was still her and I was still me. We weren't expressing anything. And so she wrote this message in my hand. What I remember from the message was it had something to do with my smile, right? And then she walks away. And me at the back her, walk her down, trying to ask, what is mean? And would she explain? I'm at home, I try to call her, can't reach her. And she just being enigmatic and she does that a lot. She did that a lot. So in a way, that did really hook me. Yeah.
All right. The mystery. Okay. All right.
Well, as I said, we met again at our grandmother's birthday party, and we were just sitting down and having a wonderful conversation. It was really good, And I had been a bit upset because the party was supposed to start at 4:30 and it didn't start until 7:30, and so I was a bit grumpy. But once we started talking, and they said, "This girl rather spend some time talking with me, and she did, and I was like, "Wow!" I forgot all about the anger and stuff. It was nice, good conversation. And then she got up to recite a poem for her grandmother that she wrote for her grandmother. And no, I'm not a poetry person. I thought it was going to be something like, "Oh, roses are red, violets are blue." But when Marsha recited that poem, I was stunned because the poem was deep. I mean, I can't remember what it said, but the poem was deep. And it hit me to say, there is much more to this lady than what you're seeing right here. It's a silent river that's very deep. And after that, my attention shifted, and I started to speak to her a bit more. And when we left, I said, it was a good time. We should meet again sometime. And she said, "Make it happen." That was the words, "Make it happen."
Make it happen.
And I said, "Okay, well now, what am I going to do?" I made it happen.
Everything that he said is true. What I really enjoyed about how we got to know each other was the conversations, echoing what came before. But our conversations were just wide and varied. Jeffrey's super smart, and it was really good to be able to relate to him in that way.
The prideful smile.
What I enjoyed as well was our dates, the time that we spent together. We went basically everywhere. And it didn't feel like it had the burden of, somebody wanting to get into a relationship with you. It just felt very light and friendly and just cheerful, a breath of fresh air.
All right.
Yeah, bless you, man, bless you.
Let's hear from the homes.
All right. Well, I'll try very hard to give you the short version because it's so mixed up. Because Errol was coming out. Errol had ended a relationship where he was actually engaged to be married, and he was basically called that he was left at the altar, and he vowed never to love again.
Wow.
So when I came into his life, there was somebody that I was seeing. We weren't, it wasn't a commitment or anything. And this person actually, I had a project, I was in college, and this person said to me, it had to do with labor law. And the person said, "My friend at church works at the Ministry of Labor, so he would help you with this project." So I go down to the Ministry of Labor, and I'm just going to get my project. I got my information. But then he walks me to the gate very slowly, and we stood up at the gate, and we ended up talking for about 3 hours at the gate. And and that was that. And so one thing led to the other. But I noticed him at church because most of our interactions were at church. He had lots of women friends. Oh, I think 99.9% of the people he interacts with are women. But he was always so very respectful to them. He was always very kind to them. He was full of fun, but he wasn't pretentious. So like when he invited me to his house the first time, I thought I was going to get a nice meal. It was crackers and Kool-Aid. And I was like, but this man are easy. Crackers and Kool-Aid. And he was like, well, it can only get better. And then shortly after that, he left to go away to study. And so we started to write each other. So our communication group, so we used to buy young people won't understand, but you used to have writing pad, a writing pad, and we'd write a whole writing pad and then just mail the whole pad to each other. And so that's how it grew.
If I had known about this program beforehand, I would have brought you my chicken boxes. Now, again, this is the world of email and whatever, but in my day, when I fell in love with Paula, still in love with her, we would write letters. And I have at home, the best dressed chicken boxes? I have about 4 or 5 of them filled with letters. I would go to the Walgreens store at the end of the corner and I would buy, as she said, a writing pad, and I would write the pad. I'd finish the pad and mail the pad. I would buy cassettes and I would talk on the cassettes and I would send the cassettes. I still have them. I would go down the road and I would talk with somebody and I'd show them her picture and say, this is my girlfriend in Jamaica. And then they would talk to her and I would send that to her. It's been an amazing love story, an amazing journey. For the most part of our lives, for the first 5 years of our relationship, I was in Chicago. She was here. I would jump on a plane every chance I got. I would come to visit. Oh, that's another story, those visits. And stuff. But that's another part.
And then one day you just realize, oh, but I like this guy, you know?
Look at that. Oh, look at that. That's so beautiful. So I have one more question to ask before we get into something a bit more interesting. What would you say has held one thing that you would say, and kind of expound on it for a bit, one thing that has held the marriage together?
That's easy, Leslie. That's easy. God. God. I mean, I don't think you could find two people, perhaps everybody would say the same, but we are like chalk and cheese, apples and oranges. We are so different. So I would only say that God has kept us together.
I'm assuming everyone agrees with that. Yeah.
Yes, God, but more, I can't say more than God, but one of the crucial parts of that also is commitment. Because one thing I've learned is that marriage is a choice day by day to say, I'm going to stay true to this person. Love is strong, but love as an emotion isn't going to be enough. I remember I keep hearing that song, love will keep us alive when we're hungry. That song is foolishness. But when you realize that when all the feelings are gone and you're into like a situation of anger or into conflict, because conflict will come and everything, the commitment you made to remember the love that was there, that you made before God, that vow is what really helps you to come through, where you're saying day by day, I choose to stay with this person for better or for worse and to see the best in them. You have to make that choice day by day by day.
Yeah, can I just jump in on Jeffrey's point there? Absolutely true. You know, I look at what's happening in society. I look at what's being portrayed on TV as, you know, love and happy marriages and all that. And it's all lies. Like, I mean, every young person who's watching this right now, you'd probably think, you know, going into marriage, it's as fairy tale as your white wedding dress and your groom's brightly colored blazer with boutonnieres and whatever else they wear. No, it's not like that at all. It's really about learning to grow with an individual, learning to live with this individual. You talked about you being chalk and cheese, lemons and apples and oranges. It's the same it's the same? Are we different? That different? We're very alike, but we're very different at times. I mean, like, guess who the loud one is in the relationship?
True.
Me?
Everyone said Anis.
No. Admit it.
Yeah,
Admit it. Stop.
It's true.
May I also say, Leslie?
Yes.
Please clarify that. Please clarify that.
Let them live with the assumptions.
May I also say, Leslie, that in addition to what Jeffrey has talked about, a commitment, so there must be intention. May I suggest to our audience that, Paula said God, and others have talked about love and commitment. May I also suggest that one of the things that helps a relationship, you must like this person. And there's a fundamental difference between loving somebody and liking somebody. When you like the person, it makes the moments when the love is threatened easier. Why? Because the love is not the thing that is going to go through the door. But if you don't like this person, if you don't like to be in their presence, if you don't like to be with them when they're brushing their teeth, if you're not comfortable with them when they're on the toilet bowl, if you don't like being with them in the kitchen, if you don't like being with them when they're not in a most attractive state, likeness is that glue that keeps the love together. If you don't like somebody, chances are you won't really stay in love with them. So that helps to keep this thing when everything else is threatened. And I like you.
No. Would love to add something though.
Go ahead.
Right. So I don't think anybody would put away anything that has been said so far. God, liking, commitment, choice. Adis mentioned learning how to live together, and that's one of the things I would like to put on the table. I think one of the crucial parts of me and Alpha's marriage is that we are allowed to be who we are and to feel how we feel. You see, one thing that I've discovered is sometimes you are at odds. Darren, put on your mic. Sometimes we're at odds. And you feel how you felt because of what the person said or because of what they did. But the person didn't mean to do that. And so it becomes a fight between, but babes, I never that me mean. But babes, this is how I felt. Right? And that's how you sound. And so it becomes this fight against perception. We learned very early, and in particular, I learned very early to sit down, shut up, and let her express how she feels. Even if she's wrong about why she feels that way, she's right about what she feels. And so there's this safe space where I can be foolish, where I can be unreasonable. We're going to work it out afterwards. But I'm not going to say, babes, you can't feel how you feel. You really do feel it.
Can I piggyback on that?
Sure.
Because whereas he had it easy, I think that I had it pretty much difficult. For me,
be careful now.
I was more along the lines of being logical. Why do you have to feel like this? And it became a problem because I'm saying, yes, you feel, but there's a bigger picture here. Can't you see it? And I learned the hard way that you have to allow for your partner to express how they feel and then appreciate that, even if you think the person is wrong. I mean, 27 years of living by myself, and then automatically I'm thrust into something where I'm living with somebody else. And then I'm expected to now undo the things I've learned for 27 years and ask her to do the same for the sake of us to cohabit. And I realized that that was not going to work. And we had some teething pains in the early phases. And I think sometimes if we are vulnerable, you may not share all the details, but that early stage after the honeymoon phase falls off is a period where if you're not careful, you'll go crazy living together. And I believe it's not love that keeps us together. I believe just what Solomon says. He says, through wisdom and knowledge, a house is built, and understanding is kept together, and its rooms are filled with precious whatever, and it continues. So I believe if there is no understanding, I believe if there's no knowledge, if there's no wisdom, that thing that you call marriage will not sustain itself, and it will not last.
I have one point here, and then we come to Alphan.
Yeah, just a quick point. One of the most important glues as well to keeping the marriage together is to have intentional habits and little things that you do together. So just a quick example, we don't leave the house. No one person leaves the house before kissing the other. And I always greet him at the door when he's coming home. Just something that you do together. If you're upset with each other, and you know the kiss is coming because he's going to leave or I'm going to leave, how do you get around that?
Kiss on the forehead.
You can't kiss and be angry, can you?
No, you directly kiss to the forehead.
No.
I'm just messing. I'm just messing.
All right.
So little things like those, being intentional and infusing it in daily habits so that you have things that you do together.
And as Darren mentioned, wisdom, knowledge, understanding. To put it in a practical sense, it's important for you to be able to know your partner, because sometimes things are said and I never that it mean, but that's how me feel. And you realize that sometimes these real simple things create a huge problem. And something that we had to learn very early in our marriage was that do not judge the person based on your feeling. Judge the person based on who you know your partner is. Theo loves me, right? He's not going to intentionally hurt me. And so if he says something that hurts me based on my perception, how do I process this information? So before reacting, before getting all up in yourself, like, but how can you? And then it becomes an argument. You stop, you process. Who am I married to? What is this person like? What is his character like? And you realize the script changes in your head drastically. Because I'm the defensive one, like, we need to understand why that have to say so and why, just the whys. But it definitely helps me to be able to perceive him in the manner that he is. And I realized that my perception and my thought process changed a lot, which contributed to my actions towards him.
No, but you said something quite important, Alfan. The thing is, as women, we're highly emotive. We're very emotional. We're built that way. And I think, sometimes we just kind of need to take stock and just silence ourselves. So something was said that you didn't like, 20-second count. Some may need 50. That's the truth, But it's no, I need like 1,000. And I'm just being very open right now. But the truth is, as Alfan said, you know your spouse. You would have the best idea of who this person you got married to is. And if you know that the person loves you, then, you have to go through that process of reminding yourself, okay, this may not be the intention that he had, and you self-talk, and you go through the 1,000-second count and make it work.
Yeah.
All right.
Because one thing that I did speak to a lot of times, early in our marriage, to say to Marshall, was I encourage her to say, men are simple, really. What you see is what you get. Because the women are very, very deep. They think they're complex. They think all these things. The guy is very simple. See X, do X. And a lot of times there's no deeper meaning to it than that. So
the reactions that we're getting from the men here are...
And so I said to her, a lot of times, babes, if you see me do something and it can be interpreted two ways, the way I meant is a way that is the least likely to get you upset. Yes. Right? And secondly, I'm asking you to give me the benefit of the doubt. There is no way that knowing, I would never want to get you upset. I would never want to be in a situation where the wife is unhappy. So if I do something, give me the benefit of the doubt that I didn't intend for it to do that kind of thing. And I would encourage wives and ladies to do that sort of thing. It's a good strategy. And to not have expectations, because I also think that expectations are one of the things that really mash up relationships. Because whatever expectations you have, you need to either state them or just get them out of your head, because it's not there. What you expect is always what you're going to get. So when you get married, forget expectations and just go straight and talk about what is necessary.
All right, I see that we have two hands.
Yeah, all of us got that expectation.
See, right? Yeah, everybody wants to speak. But here's the thing: we're gonna take a pause at this time, and we're gonna have an item of music.
If home is really where the heart is, then home must be a place we all can share. For even with our differences, our hearts are much the same. For where love is, we come together there. Wherever there is laughter ringing, someone smiling, someone dreaming, we can live together there. Love will be our home. Wherever there are children singing, where a tender heart is beating, we can live together there. Love will be our home. With love, our hearts can be a family, and hope can bring Someone smiling, someone dreaming. We can live together there. Love will be our home. Wherever there are children singing, where a tender heart is beating, we can live together there. Love will be our home. 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 Wherever there is laughter ringing, someone smiling, someone dreaming, we can live together there. Love will be our home. Love will be our home. Love will be our
Thank you for staying with us at Mind Your Health, where there is no health without emotional health. This evening, we're discussing marriage. And if you've been here, you've seen the conversation. We have the Holmes with us. We have the Marshalls, the Henrys, and the Murphys. And I've been enjoying the conversation as a single person myself. And it seems to me that they have also been enjoying the conversation. And we're going to get more into it. But at this time, we're going to play a little game. I'm sure the viewers are intrigued. They're at the edge of their chairs, ready to see what's about to happen. So is everyone here right now, I promise you. So we're going to start off the game, and I want to start this game off with the home. So the game we're going to be playing is who is more likely to. Now I'm going to ask the question, their eyes are going to be closed, and they are going to point to the person, whether themselves or the other, who is more likely to whatever the question asks. Are you ready? All right, they said they are ready. They're confirming if their eyes are closed. All right, the first question is, who is more likely to spend the most money? There's hesitation. There's no conversation, there's just pointing. Just pointing. That's hard. We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
It depends on what is being bought.
Generally speaking.
Generally speaking.
All right. We have one. You can explain afterwards. Just remember what you want to say.
Did Paula point to herself?
I don't think they understand how this game works. I don't think they understand how this game works. Can we try this with another couple? Let's try the Henrys. Let's try the Henrys here. All right. We're gonna ask the exact same question. Your eyes are closed. Your eyes are closed. Who is more likely to spend the most money? Oh wow. All right. So we see how this works. We see how this works. Are you guys ready now? Ready to continue? Okay. We'll come back to that in the Henrys. We'll come back to that. All right, so the next question is to the Holmes.
Eyes closed?
Eyes closed.
Okay.
Who is more likely to fall asleep mid-conversation?
Oh, easy. So easy.
All right, okay, all right. Next question. To the Holmes again. Who is more easily agitated? Okay, agreement. All right. Who is the more social being? All right. Who is the cleaner spouse?
We both are.
Together. Okay, I love that. I love that. Who is the better driver? All right. Who is the funniest? Okay. Who is more likely to do something adventurous? All right. Who said, this one is not a more likely question. Who said, I love you first? Okay. Who is more likely to be late for an event? Wow. Okay. All right. You can open your eyes now. We're going to talk more about them seeing who pointed to who. We're going to talk more about what just happened, but we're going to go through all the couples before we do that. So let me skip to the Henrys. Since you already answered the first question, we're going to come to you guys. So eyes are closed. Second question. Who is more likely to fall asleep mid-conversation? All right. Who is more easily agitated?
Honestly, wow.
All right. Okay. Who is the more social being? All right. Who is the cleaner spouse?
Answer this honestly.
All right. Okay. Okay. Who is the better driver? Well, then, there's something for them to discuss later. All right. Who is the funniest? Okay. Who is more likely to do something adventurous? Okay. All right. Who said I love you first?
I'm sure he's pointing at me.
All right. And who is more likely to be late for an event? This is an interesting response. Okay. All right. All right. So that's the Henrys. Let's try the Marshalls. Are you ready? All right. Let's go. Who is more likely to spend the most money? Okay. Who falls asleep mid-conversation? Okay. Who is more easily agitated? Okay, all right. Who is the more social being? Okay. Who is the cleaner spouse? Who is the better driver? Wow. Yeah, I think everyone is surprised by that. Who is the funniest? Okay, all right. Who is more likely to do something adventurous? Who said I love you first? Okay. Who is more likely to be late for an event? All right. So that was the Marshalls. Very interesting pointing happening. Some very aggressive pointing. All right. So let's get to the Murphys now. Are you ready? Okay. Their eyes are closed. They are preparing themselves for this.
Praying for the Murphys.
All right. Who is more likely to spend the most money? Okay. I heard he's a pastor. Okay. Who is more likely to fall asleep mid-conversation? Okay. All right. Who is more easily agitated? Wow. Who is the more social being? Okay, agreement there. Who is the cleaner spouse? With eyes closed, she looks. Okay, all right. Who is the better driver? Okay. Who is the funniest? Someone seems stressed about this question. Okay, all right. Who is more likely to do something adventurous? Who said I love you first? Well, that is very interesting. Okay. All right. Eyes still closed. Eyes are still closed. Who is more likely to be late for an event? She said, talk the truth, babe. All right. Eyes open. I think that was a very interesting game. And I find it interesting that with the Murphys, they both said, I love you first. They are currently discussing it. Can we just get a shot of them discussing it? All right. All right, so they are quite confused as to who said I love you first. But that game we just played though, we see some traits that each other might have. How are some of these things important in the relationship? Understanding the other person. Anybody wants to talk about that?
When you asked about spending money, we had a difficulty answering the question because of how we manage our money as a family.
Right.
We have one budget. So if I have $5 and Errol have $6, the family has $11.
Okay.
This is from we were dating.
From we were engaged, we started to put our monies together.
Okay.
And so we make a budget, and so, the tithe, the offering, the savings, the this, the that. And then there is some money that we, you can spend, you don't have to tell me everything. But our money is joined up, so you know what is being done. But the thing, why I said him, it's because I will buy a pair of shoes, okay? But he will go and buy 4 pairs of shoes one time.
Okay.
You understand? So when I will buy a handbag, he will go buy a motorcycle. So, you understand?
Okay.
So, in that way.
Understood.
The financial aspect of marriage is something that I think everyone who is married or getting married really needs to think about, because there's an ideal and then there's a reality. And the reality is that not everybody may be the same financial, mental space, And so you have to be on the same space when you begin a marriage like that to know they're going to be, so who spends what, who may have issues with spending, there may be emotional issues tied to spending, all that kind of thing. So when you say someone spends a lot, I think you have to be able to be aware of that and to have the agreement as to what's going to be happening. And the key thing there again is openness. Even if you're going to say that everything is joined up, or you're going to have accounts, but everybody's a joint member of that account, and so you have your money coming in. But you have to remember it's our money. And that's something I had to put in my mind, to say this is our money, not my money, but it's our money. And so that's one thing where I'm still growing as well, I'll admit. But I will say that in marriage, when you're getting married, talking about that money stuff is going to be very important. And don't leave it for afterwards.
Yeah.
Darren, go ahead.
Yeah, man. I'm thinking that based on the money situation, I heard somebody say, well, he's a pastor, so you spend more. But not necessarily. I think we have a joint account, and then we all have individual accounts. And if she wants to go ahead and spend on something, she'll do that, and I'll do the same. But we're not lavish spenders, really. I will buy something that is durable and lasting, and then somebody will go and purchase several over a period of time. I buy a pair of shoes. Yes, it's expensive, but that shoe will last me for a good length of time. Similarly for other areas and other things. So it's dependent on what we're spending on, but we're not lavish spenders. And
it's funny enough, though, that everything I buy lasts me for a while, even if they're not all that expensive. Like, I can make a watch that is cheap last me a while. So I'm just saying, I don't know. My stuff don't mash up and they don't look bad, but I'm not going to spend a bag of money.
This looks like a conversation that they'll continue later.
Oh,
this evening.
yeah.
All right.
And the other one too is the who falls asleep.
Right. I heard a comment made here. So who has the conversation if the both of you, because both of you pointed to each other?
I think in the beginning, I would fall asleep, and then she the other way around. Yeah. So we have changed. So over a period of time, it's a cycle. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I sleep, she sleeps, then we change all again. So.
Okay.
Right. One of the things I'm seeing coming out, watching everybody, is how it works for you.
Right.
You know, we were speaking about finances a while ago, and I understand the approach that different people take. Alpha and I take a different approach to finances. For example, we have responsibilities, and everybody deals with that responsibility, right? So I just know that this is mine. She knows that this is hers. But one of the things that really came out of the exercise is, and this was something that we struggled with, maybe we can talk about it another time, is what we do works for us. And we took the time to figure that out. You know, should was very dangerous in our marriage. Like, this is the way it should go.
Okay.
You know? So we worked out what worked for us. I know that past a certain hour, I'm having a conversation with her, she's going to fall asleep. No, I'm going to say, but babes, you should stay up. But listen to me, this is important. But that's how she is.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Learning how the other person operates and learning to deal with that.
Works for us as a unit.
And that goes into several aspects of marriage. Sexual relations, when do you talk about this? When do you make this decision? When do you go on vacation? All of these things, it is unique to that couple. And I think God wants us to remember that what Hollywood portrays as marriage, I think Adi said it best, is not real. We must remember God's purpose for marriage. God's purpose for marriage is that it is a crucible in which He wants us to demonstrate what the unity of the Godhead is like, what forgiveness is like, what to be able to share with somebody and give up of your own rights. It's the image of God. And many times, God sends this person into our lives to hold us accountable and in preparation for heaven. This is not just about emotional health. It's not just about physical unity. It's about a representation of Jesus Christ. And when that marriage is wonderful and you're demonstrating unconditional love, you're demonstrating of a giving spirit, you're learning how to give up what you think for the other person's benefit. This is what Jesus Christ did when He came for us. That is marriage, and that is the happiness that God wants. So we must remember that when God brings somebody into your life, it is also to prepare you for the life to come.
Amen. And on that note,
can I say one thing, tiny thing? What would Jesus do?
Go ahead, Theodore.
Sir Errol and Addison, you mentioned the Hollywood marriage. You know one of the biggest differences? Yes. Hollywood teaches us that you start off amazing, and then it gets bad. Yes. I am living that you start off pretty okay. Darren mentioned it. I know me for X amount of years, and we come together and we're supposed to be perfect. I'm realizing that every day I go forward is better than the days before. So we end great.
All right.
Sorry, and just
so here's the thing, right? This is only part 1 of this episode. So there's much more time for conversation. I know everybody has a lot of things that they want to say, but we'll hear it all in part 2. So next week, stay tuned. You'll be seeing these very faces as we continue the conversation and the games. It gets much more interesting. Thank you for being with us this evening at Mind Your Health, where there is no health without emotional health. Stay tuned for next week. Mind Your Health.
Sometimes your body might betray you, and you may have so much to lose. But if you pay attention and you just take some action, you realize it's all in your mind. It's in your mind, so mind your health. It's in your mind, so mind your health. Your physical is essential, but your mind is super.